It is time once again to play around the NHL Draft Lottery Simulator to see who might be the team that gets to select Connor Bedard first overall in the 2023 NHL Draft. Plus, after simulating the top 10 picks, we'll conduct a mock draft to see which players they likely select, and that's coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're conducting an NHL Draft Lottery Simulation based on today's standings. Of course, things change. I usually make a video of this nature usually every 2 or 3 weeks this time of year because the standings obviously change, which means the odds for each team changes a little bit. And then obviously, we can run the simulator numerous times, get a different result. It's really more for entertainment, fun purposes, just to see which team wins the sweepstakes to pick first, and then we'll conduct a mock draft just to see where the players might fall based on the simulation. So what we're going to do next, we're going to hop onto the computer. We're going to go to tankathon.com where they have the draft lottery simulation tool. We'll take a quick look at the teams that are most likely in the running, the top 10 teams that have the best chance of winning this. And then from there, we will conduct a simulation. I'll give you the top 10 selections, in my opinion, based on those draft or that particular draft order. And we'll go from there. You can leave your thoughts on who you think she really needs to win this the most, who deserves Connor Bedard the most, and which players do you think are going to be good fits with the teams that are going to be selecting higher in the draft. So let's jump up onto the computer, and we'll go from there. We also got confirmation today when the NHL Draft Lottery and the Connor Bedard sweepstakes will take place. The NHL has confirmed today that's going to be set for May the 8th. Now, sometimes in the past, they've done this during the intermission of a big hockey game. It doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. It sounds like it's going to be an event more on its own, obviously with the Bedard hype and everything. They really want to make a big deal out of it. So May the 8th at 7 o'clock Eastern time is when we'll find out who wins the draft lottery and their rights to select Connor Bedard. Okay, so as you can see, we're now officially on the tankathon.com website where they have the draft simulator tool. Before we jump into the actual simulation here, let's just take a look quickly here at the order of the teams as of today. I'm recording this on March the 15th. So as of right now, the Jackets are the team with the lowest ranked position. They have the best odds. San Jose's next, Chicago, Anaheim, Philadelphia, Montreal, Arizona, Vancouver, St. Louis, Detroit, Washington, and then Arizona, which is now via Ottawa in that Jacob Chikrin trade. So obviously there's lots of teams here that are able to move up. You can only move up when you're in the top 11 spots because you only go up 11 or 10 spots total. But of course, you could move up to the number 2 or 3 spot, which is still a fantastic jump, especially if you're in that 10, 12 range, etc. So that's the order. Those are obviously the odds here. If you take a look at the odds quickly, even the Jackets with the first overall best odds, still only 25.5%, which is still not the greatest. They're still close to a 75% chance that they won't win and a 55% chance that they'll end up with the number 3 pick. So we're now going to go ahead and simulate the lottery and see what happens and who will pick first overall in the 2023 NHL Draft. Oh, there we have it. The Philadelphia Flyers, who just announced that they're going through a rebuild with new GM Danny Briere. That would be an absolutely tremendous pickup for them to be able to get Connor Bedard. The Flyers will move up 4 spots. Chicago also wins a lottery spot, moves up 1 spot to number 2. That would be a huge pickup for them as well. There's quite a difference here, in my opinion, between the number 1 pick. Then you got 2 and 3, which are closer together. And then you're going to have 4 down to the, maybe the, 7, 8 range, which are still going to be a little bit more comparable players depending on which way they go. But the Flyers and Blackhawks are your victorious teams here in today's draft lottery simulation. So we're now going to jump over to the mock draft portion of this video, and I'll determine who I think these teams are going to select. So once again, during our simulation, the first overall pick goes to the Philadelphia Flyers. No doubt they're taking from the Regina Pats Connor Bedard, the consensus number 1 overall pick. There's absolutely no doubt whatsoever that he will go first overall. He's going to be a generational type player by the looks of it. Probably the best first overall pick we've seen since the Connor McDavid draft. We've had some really good first overall picks since McDavid, but I think Bedard might have a chance to be the best one since. Obviously, a player like Matthews, who came shortly after McDavid, was right up there as well. But Bedard's going to be in that kind of conversation, or at least it sure looks that way if he lives up to his potential. The guy's an absolutely goal-scoring machine, has a wicked shot, will go straight to the NHL, and I would suspect that even though
He may have high expectations early on. It might take him a year or two to really fully get going. We've seen that with other guys as well, but he's going to be a superb generational star. Moving up to number 2 in the draft, this is Chicago Blackhawks with a little bit of draft lottery luck, and they'll take from the University of Michigan, Adam Fantilli, who's arguably the second best player in this draft. Not a great deal of difference, in my opinion, between Fantilli and Leo Carlsson, but I do feel most teams will favor Fantilli as the consensus number 2 overall pick. Certainly going to be a top 6, if not for sure a top line centerman. Looks like he's not going to be a generational talent to the level that Bedard is. At least it doesn't look that way right now. But certainly it looks like he could be what you would kind of refer to as a franchise-altering type of centerman. I mean, obviously the Blackhawks, who are going through a deep rebuild, can allow Fantilli to play a year or two of college hockey if he wishes, or depending on where they feel his game is at, and jump into this team and a little bit down the road when they're ready to contend at a more competitive level. Picking 3rd overall, the Columbus Blue Jackets. The best odds, but obviously the best odds doesn't always get you the lottery win, and they'll take Swedish centerman Leo Carlsson. Leo Carlsson obviously could play a variety of forward positions at the NHL level. Had a real solid World Junior Championship team as an underager, so certainly showed real solid potential there. Again, like Fantilli, Carlsson appears to be a top 6 forward that, like I said, not expected to be a generational talent, but certainly expected to be a major contributor and a potential franchise-altering kind of player. So these teams that are getting these guys are expected to have major impacts within a couple of years of their development after being drafted here. So Leo Carlsson to Columbus would be an absolutely huge pickup for the Jackets, who was picked no worse than 3rd overall. Selecting 4th overall, we have the San Jose Sharks, and even though he's not picked yet, Matvei MItchkov would go to the Sharks in this instance. I have a feeling Mike Grier would be willing to be patient and wait for this player. Some teams might pick over or select over him. You never know. I think it'd be a huge mistake. Even though Michkov is going to stay in Russia for a few years, this kid shows so much poise, so much talent, so much skill. There was points at his game when he was a little bit younger that he rivaled Bedard, and there was a conversation at one point. Would he or Bedard be number 1? Bedard's kind of separated himself since then, but Michkov has that potential. I wouldn't be shocked if down the road he ends up being maybe even the second best player, maybe even close to being first. You just never know. The kid is that special, and San Jose should be willing to wait for him in this instance. Next up, we have the Anaheim Ducks picking 5th overall, and I have them selecting Will Smith from the United States National Team Development Program. Yes, they already have a decent amount of centers, but to me, it's a position you can never have too many of. Will Smith has been a strong riser this year in the draft rankings after having a real solid season. Obviously, would be a player that's going to go and likely play U.S. college hockey here for a period of time. He has committed already to Boston College. So 1 season for sure, if not maybe multiple, to get himself ready and prepped for the NHL, especially given that his size isn't, he's not a huge guy, 6 feet, 172. So he's not really small, but he certainly could add some more strength and stuff to his game. So we'll see what happens with Smith, but he'd be a great addition to the Ducks, and maybe he becomes a winger at the NHL. Next up, we have the Montreal Canadiens. On picking 6th overall, I am taking Zach Benson. Zach Benson would be a terrific offensive player here from the Winnipeg Ice in the Western Hockey League to add to this group of young Montreal forwards that are trying to make a big push forward here. Certainly the Habs are rebuilding. They have some good young pieces to build around with Suzuki and Caulfield and Kirby Dach, etc. Long rumored to maybe even add Pierre-Luc Dubois in the next year as well from the Winnipeg Jets as well. At least that's the long speculation of it. Zach Benson's a very creative, offensively gifted player who can play all 3 or 4 positions. It will be another great offensive weapon to add to the Montreal Canadiens' deep prospect pool. At 7 overall, we have the Arizona Coyotes, and I have them selecting Andrew Crystal. Crystal's another player, extremely talented, very, very skilled, right up there with Bedard in some aspects. Obviously not the full player that Bedard is, but him and Bedard are great friends, and they do draw some similarities. Of course, Crystal hails from Kelowna, BC. Wouldn't be shocking if he ended up going to the Vancouver Canucks in this draft, but I think the Canucks, depending on where they pick, may have some other options that maybe fit where their team is at a little bit better. Crystal could stand to put on a little bit more muscle. He's 5'10", 165. Normally plays left wing. He's a very talented, gifted offensive winger. Could be a great addition to the Coyotes, as they're certainly going to be in for a long haul with this long rebuild here. Bill Armstrong and the Coyotes seem to be in absolutely no hurry to get things turned around, as they're likely looking at a 3-year plan to likely get a new arena if everything goes well. It could even be a little bit longer than that. But Crystal to the Coyotes to me makes a lot of sense with where they're picking in the draft. Next up, the Vancouver Canucks, and I have them selecting a defenseman, a high riser here, Axel Sandin-Pellikka, who's drawn a lot of attention this year, moving up the ranks substantially. Had a real solid showing for Sweden at the World Junior Championships, and a real fine season, a real fine player here. I think with Crystal, like I said, being the local product that the Canucks might have their eye on, wouldn't be shocking if they'd go to add to the blue line. They do have more depth up front as we speak right now. They could certainly use more depth on the blue line, some higher-end players. After Quinn Hughes, the D-core is certainly could use another dynamic player back there, and Sandin-Pellikka just might be that guy. He's not overly huge, 5'11", 181, but overall has a lot of great skills, lots of things to work on. He may play in Europe for another season. I probably see him being 2, maybe 3 years out, but I think he could be a great addition to the Canucks blue line. Selecting 9th overall, we have the St. Louis Blues, and I have them selecting prospect Eduard Shea. Shea certainly has had himself a nice season as well and worked his way up the draft rankings here. Certainly a player that took a big jump during his play in the World Junior Championships. Right winger, 6'1", 168, Czech Republic or Czechia-born player. Certainly a player who I think could be a good impact here. The St. Louis Blues are certainly not looking to rebuild. They want to have some pieces who can jump in, and I think Shea could be a piece to add to their top 9 here in the next 1 or 2 seasons. So to me, Shea makes a good amount of sense and a good selection here for St. Louis with what he brings to the table. Selecting 10th overall, we have the Detroit Red Wings, and I have them selecting Dalibor Dvorsky. Dvorsky still to me is a top 10 selection. The Slovakian centerman could slip outside of the top 10 because there are some players that are kind of in that 10 to 15 range, putting some pressure, having solid years, depending on the team that's picking and how they view the rankings here. But certainly, to me, Dvorsky is a player with good size, 6'1", 200 pounds. To me, he's not too far off from being NHL already. Likely needs a year of seasoning, but because he's a European-born player, he could go straight to the American Hockey League. For Detroit, we know Yzerman and company like to really, give their prospects time in their system to really hone in their game and be ready. So, to me, he's a player who could come over, make that jump, and then make the Red Wings line up here in the not-too-distant future.
So thanks very much for watching all the way through, looking at all my top 10 selections in the simulation. Let me know your thoughts on the outcome. And of course, let me know, like I said before, your thoughts on who should have Connor Bedard, who deserves it the most, what team needs it the most moving forward. And let me know your thoughts on some of these high-end prospects expected to go in the top 10 of the 2023 NHL Draft. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.